Hey, what's up? My name is Tyson Brown and I want to welcome you to Tyson's Fitness Tips podcast. This is Australia's top health and fitness podcast to help you lose weight, look good with your shirt off, feel confident in your body, and finally achieve the goals you want with your health and fitness. So 5 days a week, I'm going to be giving you top information from myself and also from leading experts in the field so you know everything you need to do to get in the best shape of your life. From nutrition to mindset to workout, everything is covered in this podcast and you need to go nowhere else. So like I said, it's going to be 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, in your ears with quick actionable segments that you can implement straight away, because the most important thing is that you can put these things into play. Also, if you listen all the way to the end of the episode, you're going to get 2 special gifts that you can download upon listening to it. So make sure you listen all the way to the end to get those free gifts, okay? So let's get into the episode. Hello and good morning, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Tyson's Fitness Tips podcast. Again, not going to be a video one today, just going to be in the audio because I've still got no data. Son of a bitch. Yes, I know, it's a bugger. But I've only got a couple of days left, so first world problems, right? So basically, what I want to do today is I want to get straight into a topic that is demoralizing to a lot of people that I've realized. Like, I was actually talking to this about a couple of other trainers the other day. And they were saying, because I like, my big interest is nutrition, that's kind of my expertise in the Fitness First Newtown gym. Like, compared to everyone else, I'm clued on about nutrition. And we were talking about how quickly weight loss occurs in some people. And I said water weight was a big factor for when people first start. And one of the guys asked me, he goes, why do you think people store more water, Tyson? Like, why do you think they lose weight so quickly but they're not able to sustain it? And it was a good question because he doesn't actually realize, he goes, why are people storing more water? And it was funny because what I realized is a lot of people don't, what I realized is that a lot of people don't understand is when you first start out on a diet, you will lose weight the quickest for a certain amount of reasons, for a few reasons that are very, very important. And you need to understand this because your weight loss, your initial weight loss that happens straight away is not indication of body fat. It's not an indication of making progress. It's actually an indication of you dropping water weight. And that's why in the first week you could lose, 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds. Everyone has different types of weights they lose. But that's why you lose so much at the start and then it starts to slow down. It's not because you've all of a sudden not been eating as much or you've slowed on your progress. It's because now that you've dropped the water weight, now your body's in a balance. So what happens is when you are constantly eating a diet that's high in carbohydrates, high in sodium, high in sugar, and you just eat a lot of food, like a lot of volume, you're holding onto water, you are storing more muscle glycogen, you have more sodium, so you're retaining more water, and you also got more food in your gut because you're eating so much food and it just sits in the gut. So what happens is when people go on a diet and they cut out, let's say most people will go for a low carb diet and they cut out sodium, they cut out takeaway foods, they cut out things like that and they eat less volume, what happens is you drop a large amount of weight. Some of the weight comes from the food in your stomach. You're going to always be holding a certain amount of food in your stomach, but when you eat less food, you're then going to take a shit. You're going to take multiple shits during that week and you're going to be eating less food, which means you're going to be dumping a lot of the food that was in your stomach. And your shit weighs a fair bit, can weigh a fair bit of weight. So that could be one area. Then you've got your muscle glycogen and your water retention. So if you think about this, the average person, I would say, eats about 250 to 400 grams of carbohydrates a day. And 1 gram of carbohydrates holds 4 grams of water, or 4 mils of water. So let's say if you're eating 400 grams of carbohydrates a day, that means you've got 1.6 kilos of water. 1.6 litres. Is kilos and litres, are they weigh the same thing?
Kilos and litres.
Sounds about right? Let's just say...
Yeah, I think a litre of water is a kilo.
Yeah, so roughly 1.6 kilos that you've dropped just from that alone, from dropping from 400 grams of carbohydrates, right? So that's going to be a huge whoosh. Then you're going to be eating less sodium, which is also going to make you retain less water. So that's why you have such a big drop of weight in the start. You're like, wow, I lost 5 kilos in my first week. It's like, yeah, you didn't actually lose fat, you just lost a lot of water weight. And so the week after that and the week after, like, you know, the progress, you go, oh my God, my progress has slowed down. No, it actually hasn't. Like, this is where your progress actually starts. You've just cleared everything out of your body. You've dropped water weight. You've reduced the amount of glycogen you're holding in your muscles. You've reduced the amount of sodium you're eating. You've reduced the amount of food that's in your GI tract, and you're just going to weigh less. So you need to be aware of that at the start, because you don't want to be demoralized that you think you're not making progress because you've gone from losing 4 kilos a week to losing, let's say, half a kilo the next week. That's completely fine, and that is going to happen. And what you actually need to focus on is being consistent of losing about 1% of your body weight a week. Can you lose more? Yes, but then you're risking muscle mass loss. And so if you can eat a high protein diet and then have carbs or fats, whatever you choose, and you're still in a calorie deficit and you're able to lose 1% of your body weight a week, you are going to be losing predominantly fat, as long as you're keeping your protein high, as long as you're training with weights. And that's what you should be aiming for. Don't try and aim for anything crazy. If you're aiming for fucking 2 kilos a week, whatever it is, you're going on a starvation diet, you're risking losing muscle loss, and you're going to bounce backwards. You're going to yo-yo. Because so many people who have this idea where they think they need to see the scale go down as fast as possible, and that's where you mess yourself up in the long run. So if you're not losing 1% of your body weight and you're losing less, that's completely fine too. Any weight loss is fine, and you will not plateaued unless you're actually not losing weight. If you're losing weight week by week, which you should be weighing yourself as often as possible, like once a day, same time, and then you divide that number by 7, so let's say, or however many days you weigh yourself. So let's say you weigh yourself Monday to Sunday, and then you get like 84, 83, 83.5, 84.2, whatever it is, you add all those numbers up and you divide it by 7, and that's going to give you a weekly average. Then the next week you do the same thing, and then you should be able to see, running on your weekly averages, if they're slowly trending down. If there's anything that's trending down, if you are on the downwards side of things, you are making progress, which means you are doing good. You're not plateaued. You're not you're not failing yourself. You're still making progress and you're being consistent. And that's what you need to focus on. Don't get caught up in thinking, I lost 5 kilos the first week and then I've lost half a kilo the second week and only half a kilo again. Like, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong. You're actually doing really good, because the body doesn't want to lose weight as fast as possible. And the faster you lose it, the more muscle mass you're going to get, and the more likely of a chance you're going to bounce backwards. And that's the biggest thing I see people with. Like, they get really frustrated because they think they're not making progress fast enough, because you see like transformation photos saying that this person lost 10 kilos in a couple of weeks or whatever it is. But when you actually look at their body, they don't look that different. Or you can see that they don't look as bloated, and it's because they've lost that water weight. And so the thing that I want to say here is, like, don't get obsessed with trying to lose weight as fast as possible, and don't get disheartened if the weight isn't coming off like kilos at a time, because it's not supposed to. You want to focus on a consistent effort of losing 1% or less of your body weight. It actually really depends how heavy you are, right? And how consistent you want to be and how flexible you want to be. Obviously, if you still want to enjoy foods, if you want to go out and drink on the weekend and things like that, it's going to take a little bit longer. But if you're someone who wants to be more strict, then you lose 1% of your body weight a week. And you do that consistently over time, and as long as you're trending in the downwards direction, you are making progress. Plateau means you're stuck. Plateau means you're not making progress. Plateau means that scale is either going up or it's staying at the same for more than 2 weeks. If it hasn't been 2 weeks yet, you don't adjust anything. You only adjust as after that running average is stuck on that same weight for 2 weeks. Because things can happen in 2 weeks. You might overeat one day. You might forget to track and you might not realize you overate. You might undereat a certain day. It might drop faster. You might still be holding water. And all these things come into play. So I don't want you getting disheartened and thinking that you're not making progress if you're not losing huge amounts of weight. Don't get lost in this thing of like following everyone else, what you see on social media. Like, they lost 5 kilos or they lost this, they lost that. That's great. That's them. That's not you. And so what I want you to focus on is just to be consistent with that diet. And just to be aware what's going to happen at the very start. Because when you know that you're going to drop a lot of weight at the start, and you know that's not going to be a clear indication of how much you should be losing every single day, when you go into that mindset of knowing that, then what's going to happen is that you can know that you can tell yourself and logically know that you are not failing, that you are still on progress and that you're still making progress towards your goals, as long as you're doing that consistently, okay? So don't get caught up in this stuff. Like, the worst thing is to listen to people who want you to lose 10 kilos a week, or 14 kilos in 10 days, whatever it is. Like, it's an unsustainable thing that you're not going to be able to stick to in the long run. And if you can just focus on your own goals, losing 1% of your body weight a week, and being consistent, dialing in your nutrition habits, dialing in your training, doing the things you need to do to lose weight, and you're consistently dropping every week by week on that running average, you are making progress. Don't let anyone tell you different. And even if it's like 1 week it doesn't change, but the next week it does, you're still making progress. Because usually some days, like I said, some days for a week, you're not going to see anything. It's going to be a very, very flat line. You're not going to see any results, and you're going to be like, what the hell's going on? And that's completely fine. Because what's going to happen is that next week, all of a sudden, it's going to drop. Because like we said, there's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. But sometimes you might not be in a 500 calorie deficit, which means you're not going to lose weight every single week. You might lose weight every 8 to 10 days because you're simply not in a 500 calorie deficit. And that's still fine. As long as, like I said, you're making that downwards progression, you're moving the scale in the downwards trend, that's the main thing. Cool. So that is the video for today. That is not the video. That is the podcast, because I'm not doing a video today. If you have any questions about weight loss, or if you feel like you've plateaued, or if you need help or anything, make sure to reach out to me on Instagram, which is Tyson the Trainer with 2 R's, and I'll be able to help you point you in the right direction. So thanks again for listening, and I'll speak to you in the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. So now you've listened all the way to the end. That means you get some free goodies. So what you can do is you've got 2 different options, or you can take them both. I've got an intermittent fasting cheat sheet and a high protein 20 recipe meal guide designed specifically for you in your situation. These meal plans and this intermittent fasting guide are designed to help you burn stubborn belly fat and get in the best shape of your life. So all you have to do is go to the show notes, click on the download link, and they'll get sent straight to your email address. It's as simple as that. They're completely free. They're going to help you transform your body. So go to the show notes now and download your free guide, and I'll speak to you in the next episode.